Hello, my name is Emma, and in today's video, I am going to teach you a lot of university language. I'm going to teach you specifically about the people you will see at university. I've used here the word uni. This is very British English. Uni means university. In American English, we would call it college. In Canadian English, we'd call it university. Okay, and I don't know about Australian, but I would assume it's probably uni also. So there are many different words we use when we talk about people at the university. I'm going to tell you what we call students, what we call professors, what we call the boss of the professor. Okay, so you will learn a lot of words today. So let's get started. I have here a pyramid. This pyramid represents power at the university. Okay, it represents position at the university and also the number of positions at a university. So if you notice, we'll start at the bottom. I have here freshman. A freshman is a first-year student. Okay, so when you get to university, you will be a freshman. It means you are in your first year of university. There are a lot of freshmen at university. Then what happens? Second year comes along. When second year happens, you become a sophomore. This means you are in the second year of your program. We don't say sophomore, okay? We don't say sophomore. No. Sophomore. So it's almost like this O we spell with, it's silent when we say it. Sophomore. And you'll notice the PH is a F sound. Sophomore. So your second year is your sophomore year. Then some people will continue on in university and they'll get to their third year, okay? In your third year, you will be called a junior. Junior. Okay, so I want you to say these words: freshman, sophomore, junior. If all goes well, after your third year, you're going to be in your last year or your final year, and you will be, so fourth year, a senior. So this means you are the top of undergrad. You will be a senior in your fourth year. So all of this, these freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, this all refers to undergrad students or undergraduate. Okay, so for short, we say undergrad. In the long, we say undergraduate students. Okay, so when I was in undergrad, I started as a freshman, then my second year of undergrad, sophomore, third year of undergrad, junior, and finally, in my fourth year, I was a senior. Okay, if you finish and you finish your senior year, you get a bachelor's. Okay, so you get a bachelor's degree. You do 4 years of university, you get a bachelor's degree. Now, some people after their fourth year, after they're a senior, they're tired of university. They're so happy they're finished. It's finally over. So they go and they start working and they forget all about university. Other people want to do more university. They stay in university and they continue studying. We call these people master's students. Okay. Usually a master's is a 2-year program. It can be a 1-year program, but it happens after undergrad. So we call these students grad students. We can also say graduate students or master's student. Okay. So again, usually these people are in a program for 1 or 2 years. They are grad students, master's students. It means the same thing. From this point, you'll find that some grad students get a job at the university. Okay, so they're still a grad student, but they get a job. The job they get at the university is a TA job or a TA position. A TA is a person who is a teaching assistant. So a TA is the same thing as teaching assistant. It's just the short way to say it. A teaching assistant works for a professor. They help the professor teach freshmen, sophomore, junior, and seniors. So the TA is the assistant to the professor, and they help the professor teach these people. Sometimes they mark, okay, essays. They might, if you write a test, it might be a TA who marks your test because the professor is too busy. So it's the professor's assistant. Some grad or master's students might get an RA position. So this is a job for master's students. It means research assistant. So where here you're working with students. As a research assistant, you might be working in the lab with a professor. You might be helping do research. Okay, so that's what RA stands for, research assistant. And so these are the two common jobs at a university for master's students. Then you get, once you finish your master's, some students then go off into the work world and they start working. Other students continue in university. Okay, so they've now had their undergrad, they've now done their master's. And so what do they do next? They become a PhD student. So PhDs are usually programs that are 4 to 5 years. For other people, it might take longer. And if you finish a PhD, you get a doctorate. Okay, so PhD is higher than a grad student or a master's student and higher than undergrad. PhD students can also be TAs and they can also be RAs. Now, once a PhD student finishes their thesis and they finish their dissertation, they have finished school, they can become a postdoc. So I didn't write this here, but one step up, postdoc. So that's just about here. PhD students as well as postdocs can become instructors and they can become lecturers. These words pretty much mean the same thing. An instructor or a lecturer is a person who teaches undergrads. Okay, so they teach a class. So for example, if you take a psychology class, your instructor is the person who teaches you about psychology. It's the same with lecturer. The lecturer is the person who teaches you about a subject. Some instructors are professors. Other instructors aren't. Some instructors are only PhD students. So depending on if you have an instructor who is a professor or a PhD student, you might talk to them a little bit differently. And we'll come back to that in a moment. Okay, so you finished your PhD. You're now doing a postdoc. You're an instructor. You're teaching these undergrads. You're teaching freshmen, sophomore, juniors, and seniors. And you work at the university for a while. What happens next? If the university really likes you, you can become a professor. You can become somebody who works at the university and who's tenured. Okay, this means that you're going to work at the university as a professor. As a professor, you work with a group of other professors. We call the group of professors the faculty. So a faculty means many professors. So you have a faculty of arts, a faculty of dentistry, a faculty of sciences. So faculty is a group of professors who teach a certain subject. Okay, so professors are a little bit higher than instructors and lecturers because they are full-time members at the university. And so because they have their PhD and because they've gotten this position, we have to address them in a certain way. Some professors like to be called professor. So you might have Professor Donaldson or Professor Smith. So we say the word professor with their last name. It's almost like Mr. or Mrs. So for example, Professor White. Other professors are a little bit more easygoing and they don't mind like things being a little bit more informal. So some of your professors might let you call them by their first name. So hey, Emma. Hi, Doug. Okay, it depends on your prof. Some of them want the first name. Some of them will want you to call them professor. Again, it depends on the person. Now, on the same level, we have some people working at the university. We have the advisor, and we have registrars. These are people that are supposed to help undergrads and also grad students with their studies. So they're there to help you. They work for the university. The registrar is the person you go to when you want to get into a class. So imagine I want to take Psychology 100. I will go to my registrar and I will say, I'd like to be in the class Psychology 100. And then the registrar will put me in the class or say, no, I'm sorry, you can't be in this class. So the registrar is the person who puts you in the class. You'll also have somebody who's an advisor. Advisors, what do? They give you advice on things. Okay, so they might give you advice on school, on study habits, on maybe you're taking too many classes. An advisor might tell you, you shouldn't take so many classes, take less classes. So these are the roles of an advisor. Finally, at the very top of our hierarchy here, we have somebody called the dean. The dean is almost like the principal of a department or of the university. Okay, so if you think about elementary school, the principal would be the dean. And there are more roles. This is actually like a simplified version. You also have a president, and it gets really confusing. But for now, a key word here is dean. So the dean is usually somebody who was a professor who now has more of an administrative role. And so they almost control the university. They tell the professors what to do. They tell the faculty what to do. They tell the advisors and the registrar. They're in charge of this structure. Okay? So these are all very common words we use when we talk about university and the people in it. I hope you come check us out on our website at www.ingvid.com. There you can do a quiz to see and make sure you understand these words and how to use them. I hope you found today's lesson useful, and I hope you start using some of these words, even saying what you are. Okay, if you think about your life, are you a freshman? Are you a grad student? Do you TA? Are you an instructor? Okay, so think about this in your own life experiences. Until next time, I hope you've enjoyed everything, and take care.